Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, I hope you guys in a good condition. So before we start our presentation, I would like to suggest to use the earphone to clearly hear our voice and easily to understand what in this chapter is about. So we will present to all of you this chapter 13, the amount and distribution of practice. Before we start our presentation, let our team member introduce ourselves.
Okay, hi. Nama kami Alvenna Binti. Okay, so dalam presentation tu kami akan present the distribution of practice.
Hi, ฉันชื่อ Syufiqa Fatin Binti Johan เรื่องของฉันชื่อ example of overlearning strategy applied to types of motor skill and overlearning strategy can lead to poor learning.
Hai, and welcome. NPR Mohamad Irfan bin Thalib and to Thalib to the distribution of practice for practice session and why the distribute practice for session is better to learning. Alright, let's go.
Watashi no namai wa Mohamad Najmi bin Zulkeflee. Presentation na topik wa the introduction for amounts and distribution and the concept of overlearning.
Hi, Assalamualaikum everyone, and my name is Mohamad Ridzuan and Mohamad Nizam. I will present about the intertrial interval and practice distribution at the end of this video. Okay, so don't forget to watch.
You should be able to understand the concept of overlearning, define the examples of overlearning strategy applied to types of motor skill. Next, to learn the overlearning strategy can lead to poor strategy. Next, you should be able to understand what is distribution of practice, able to identify the difference of two types practice distribution schedule, and lastly, to learn distribution of practice for practice season. Next, what is amount and what is distribution? So the amount is quantity of something, total or things in number, size and value. So the amount is referred to the quantity in number, size and value. Next, what is distribution? The way in which is shared out among a group or spread over an area. Basically, distribution is something like sharing. Next, what is overlearning? Basically, overlearning is continuation or overtraining beyond the amount need. So, if you apply the concept of overlearning, you should be able to achieve a certain performance level. For example, you are an hockey athlete. You go for training from 5 p.m. until 6 p.m. So you only have 1 hour to train. But if you apply the concept of overtraining, you go for training from 5 p.m. until 7 p.m. So you have 2 hours for you to train, so that you will get a certain performance level that beyond your amount need. For your additional information, according to Ridzuan 1992, research has shown that overlearning can have a positive influence on retention performance for motor learning skill. Okay, now from this statement, it strongly influences your belief that overlearning is actually really give positive effect on your retention performance for your motor learning skill.
Hi, So the example of overlearning strategy apply to types of motor skill. They have three. First is procedural skill, combination of cognitive and motor components and require performance of a series of relatively simple movement. For example, is typing. So typing is you use your simple movement. You use your fingers and your eyes. Your eyes you see at the screen and your fingers you typing at the keyboard. US Army sponsor research found 100% overlearning strategy effective for long-term retention. For example, assembling a rifle. It means 100% more trial can effective for long-term retention. So, you must keep practice and do more trial to get perfect when you do assembling a rifle. Assembling a rifle is not easy. You must learn and practice and keep trial. Next is dynamic balance skill. Mainly in 1971, research has found point of diminishing returns for amount of extra practice. 50% as effective as 100% and 200%. It means when you do practice 50%, it's like the effective like 100% and can be 200%. For example, riding a bike and hopping on one foot during a game of hopscotch. This last one is physical education class setting. One study reported students determine extra practice result in better learning than teacher determine extra practice in the setting. It means teacher or coaches not determine all the practice or the exercise. You as a person or athlete, you can do practice and you can determine and in yourself. For example, is dribble the ball and throwing the ball. Overlearning strategy can lead to poor learning. Research have found situations in which learning deficit result from excessive practice. For example, is too much learning. She and call 1980-1991. Some evidence show that learning deficit may result from providing too many extra practice trial. It means when you provide too many extra practice, it's not change the result or the performance. The result on the experiment run counter to what most people would expect. It means more practice beyond a certain amount did not improve retention and transfer test performance. Why would overlearning lead to poor learning? The skill practiced in this experiment was so simple. Boredom become a problem after a certain amount of practice. It means the simple experiment make you bored because this is simple, so you can feel bored. Learner reduce the amount of attention the task required to improve performance. Learner cases to engage in the amount to cognitive effort required to improve task performance. It means the learner choose to less the amount of attention the task required to improve performance, and the stop to engage in the amount to cognitive effort required to improve task performance. The importance of practice variability. Practice of the same movement can result in a decreasing capability to remember and transfer to a related movement. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, next I'm going to present about distribution of practice. Okay, distribution of practice can be defined as how you can divide your practice or training into a short session. Okay, distribution of practice must be conducted based on these following terms, which are the length and frequency of the practice session and the length of rest intervals between trials during each practice session. Okay, so the first one is the length and frequency of the practice sessions. Okay, it means the time taken for each session, and the number of repetitions of the practice sessions. Next one is the length of rest intervals between trials during each practice session. It means the time gap that players take during training before starting a new set of practice. Next I'm going to continue with the two types of practice distribution schedules. Practice distribution schedules divided into two parts, which are mass practice and distributed practice sessions. The first one is mass practice. Mass practice is a session whereby it took a long period of time, but with a few sets of practice are needed. And the rest between trial rest intervals is not too long and not too short. And that's why in the table I wrote it at none to very short. The second one is the distributed practice session. This session is shorter but more sets of practice are required. Next is the between trial rest interval is longer than the mass practice length. That's all from me, and I will pass it to the next presenter. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To the next chapter, which is we're gonna discuss about distribution of practice for practice session, which is in this main subtopic, which is we want the distribution of practice for practice session, which is the main goal is to achieve optimal learning. Practice session can be too long and infrequent, and then the people practice skill is more frequent, and the shorter practice session to get a better learning result. To the next slide, as you can see, we're gonna discuss about the research from the Bentley and the Longman in the 1978. This research is to determine the best way to schedule training session for the postal workers on a mail sorting machine, which is required in the typewriter like keyboard. As you can see, there is 4 type of group in there, which is they put in the first group, which is in the first 1 hour session and 1 session per day. The total of the training, the research training, which is in 12-week training. And the second group is also in 1 hour per session, but they have 2 sessions per day. And the total of the week training, which is in the 6 week. And the third group, they have 2 hours per session, but in 1 session per day. And the total also is made in 6 week training. And the last group, which is a 2 hour session and the 2 session per day. And the total of the total week, which is in the 3 weeks only. As you can see at the figure, the best result of among of the 4 and the group, which is the first group, they only complete 1 hour per session and 1 session per day in 12 weeks. They have complete only 55 hours. The conclusion of this research, which is if you have the flexible training and you have the flexible prep and enough rest, so the learner will perform better and have the keep up memory at the high level. So it will make a less error compared to if you push your learners to gain the performance quickly. So it will make a lot of error for the learners. So the better so the coaches must have the flexible timing for the learners to learn the tactic quickly. At the same time, the coach also have to investigate how much rest that the learners need to perform better in their practice. For the next part, we're going to discuss why distributed practice for session are better to learning. For the first part, which is the fatigue hypothesis, as you can see, if the learners have too much practice and they have lack of rest, it will decrease the performance and they will make a lot of error when they do their work and when they want to do the performance training technique. For example, which is if the learner
make a have a practice session which is kicking the football, and they keep kicking in 2 hour per session, but they don't get enough rest, it will lead them to easily to get fatigue. So the coach must have has a good timing for the learners, so it will make the technique and the performance will get for the learners will become better. So the second point, which is the cognitive effect hypothesis, with the matching of practice within a day or a few days, it will reduce the amount of the cognitive effect of the learners to use on each trial as practice continuous beyond the certain critical amount. If the learners keep practicing the same technique and the coaches have no variety technique, it will lead the practice to become getting bored. So the learners will easily not interesting to the practice session, and the performance there will be dropped. The last part, which is memory consolidation hypothesis. The memory consolidation, which is a long-term memory storage process. As the explanation, as we can see, if the practice will keep practicing every day, so the muscle memory will easy to perform better, and the learners will make a few mistakes compared to if they only do the technique only one day. They keep pushing their practice, and they have only one day to perform the technique. It will lead the muscle memory to become decreased, and they will forget the technique in such a few days after that.
So in general, we know that in mass practice, the rest between the practice or the trials is very short. For distributed practice, we know that the amount of rest between trials or between practice is relatively long or same with the duration of the practice. Okay, so the term of very short and relatively long have what meaning? Okay, so to make sure that you understand in detail, it can generalize into motor skill learning situation. Okay, such as continuous motor skills and discrete motor skills. Okay, now the intertrial interval and practice distribution. Okay, just I said just now, mass practice is the duration for rest between trials is very short or non-existent. Okay, and then distributed practice, the duration of rest between trials is relatively long. Okay, for mass practice, the duration of rest between trials is short. Okay, such as you practice for 1 hour, okay, but you rest only for 5 minutes, like that. Okay, for distributed practice, the rest is relatively long. Okay, like you practice for 30 minutes and you can rest for 15 minutes also. Okay, so the situation of motor skill learning that generalize the intertrial interval is continuous motor skills and discrete motor skills. Okay, for continuous motor skills, more functional in distributed schedules than mass schedules. That means that distributed schedules, like distributed practice, the rest between the trials is long. Okay, are more function than mass schedules. Okay, for discrete motor skills, more functional in mass schedules than distributed schedules. Okay, that means that mass schedules are more reliable, are more suitable for discrete motor skills situation. Okay, such as you have 100-meter training. Okay, you can use discrete motor skills situation for the training. Okay, you can practice for 30 minutes and rest for 5 minutes. Okay, distributed schedules are not suitable for this situation like that. And next is conclusion. Okay, in conclusion, distributed practice can attempt to overlearning in athletes, but can overcome with strategies. Okay, as you know that we have 3 strategies. Okay, overlearning strategies, which is procedural skills, dynamic balance skills, and education class. It can be helpful but also can be harmful towards athletes' performance. Okay, addition of practice, they did not improve the performance of the athletes because it can cause boredom in athlete. Athlete will feel boring doing the same movement, same practice all over the time. The coach, the manager or trainer or anyone that in charge of arrange the practice should consider distributed practice or match practice in their training program. Okay, so that athlete can avoid from feel boring, from the boredom, and the practice can enhance the athlete performance. Okay, everything going smoothly. Okay, thank you for watching this video. I hope all of you can learn something from this chapter. Hopefully all of you get the learning outcome, okay, which is explained by previous presenter Najmi. So this chapter can be useful for you to learn something. Okay, don't forget to comment for your attendance. Stay safe, stay healthy, and don't skip fasting. Okay, thank you everyone.